Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another session of InfosecGirls Lucknow chapter. So today we have with us Ms. Shivyanshi, who is a sophomore at VIT Bhopal University and is pursuing her bachelor's in the field of cybersecurity and digital forensics. So without wasting much of our time, I would let Shivyanshi to tell us more about herself and start with the event.
Good evening, all. Hope you all are doing great and staying safe in these unprecedented times of COVID. I am Shivyanshi Shukla, sophomore year and pursuing my BTech in cybersecurity and digital forensics from VIT Bhopal. Now, before I start, let me share my screen so that you all can see the presentation. Okay, is my screen visible? Okay. Now, I will take you through my presentation on cyber threat Pegasus, the looming danger, which is a very hot topic these days. Hope it will be an informative journey for you all, and you'll enjoy the evening with me. Now, before we move on to the core topic, that is Pegasus, let us first learn some fundamental terms. Let's dive in. The question here is, what actually is cyber threat? So on the screen, you can see two definitions for that, but let us understand it in a very simple way. Why we have stopped stepping out of our houses and why the country has a complete lockdown state. Why? And the question is simply because of COVID-19 or the pandemic that affected the country since the very beginning of 2020, which has stopped us from stepping out of our houses, completely shattered the education system and locked ourselves in our rooms enclosed within the four walls. Now let us look at COVID-19 and the pandemic that affected the country as an entity. This entity is capable of harming us. In other words, it poses a threat to infect the human system with cough, fever, respiratory problems, diarrhea, etc. And we have seen the image before us just a couple of months ago. And hence, to stay protected and to stay safe, we are enclosed within the four walls of our home so as to stay protected. Now, in the cyber world, the entity represented as COVID-19 or the pandemic are the different types of computer viruses like malware, spyware, ransomware that holds the capacity to infect the computer system and cause damage to the privacy, data, and hinder the confidentiality of an individual. But my friends, threat is only the probability of a cyber attack or data breach. And a threat that persists in the system is just a probability that a cyber attack would happen. A threat is something that exists in the cyberspace but has not been given the power to harm or infect the system. For a cybersecurity expert like you all, and in future for me too, the Oxford Dictionary definition, if we go by the proper definition, which is also incomplete, would be the possibility of a malicious attempt to damage or disrupt a computer system or network. It is also an attempt to damage or steal data and disrupt digital operations. Now let us look on these slides. What is given here? A cyber or cybersecurity threat is a malicious act that seeks to damage data, steal data, or disrupt digital life in general. Cyber threats include computer viruses, data breaches, denial of service attacks, and other attack vectors. Cyber threat also refer to the possibility of a successful cyber attack that aims to gain unauthorized access to a system, damage, disrupt, or steal an information technology asset, computer network, intellectual property, or any other form of sensitive data. Cyber threats can come from within an organization by trusted users or from remote locations by unknown parties. A very well example for this would be the present scenario of Pegasus. It was a dormant virus for a couple of years and then it came into existence. Next, we move on to the potential cyber threats. Now in cyber threat, we have carriers of threats, which are potential to causing cyber attacks, which are national hostile nations. National cyber warfare programs provide emerging cyber threats ranging from propaganda, website defacement, espionage, disruption of key infrastructure to loss of life. Government-sponsored programs are increasingly sophisticated and pose advanced threats when compared to other threat actors. The developing capabilities could cause widespread long-term damages to the national security of many countries, including the United States. Hostile nation states pose the highest risk due to their ability to effectively employ technology and tools against the most difficult targets like classified networks and critical infrastructures like electricity grids and gas control valves. Moving on, we have the terrorist groups. Now, since the time of 9/11 to the rise of ISIS, there has been an epochal shift, the use of technology in terrorism. We all know that. The terrorist groups are increasingly using cyber threats to the best of their advantage, turning them into potential attacks against the interest of national security of any given country. And why not? If the agencies preventing the terrorism are advancing, then to counter these groups are actively recruiting pupils who would exploit the vulnerabilities in their interest. And let me tell you, terrorism is not only limited or exclusively killing people. Since the pandemic hit the country, terrorism has gained a new terminology, and that is hacking data. The data of various multinational companies, hospitals have been seized. And that, my friends, are also categorized as terrorism. It is likely that terrorist groups will represent substantial cyber threats as more technically competent generation join their ranks. Moving on, we have the hackers. Now we have two kinds of hackers, the malicious intruders and the white hat hackers. Now the malicious intruders, their only and only aim is to gain access or rather unauthorized access to data which does not ethically belong to them and tamper with it. Hackers may break into information systems for a challenge or bragging rights. In the past, this required a high level of skill. Today, automated attack scripts and protocols can be downloaded from the internet, making sophisticated attacks simple. Now let us look at it. In the past, what we see in conventional Hollywood movies, a geek person sitting with a laptop trying to hack into a system, that is not a case nowadays. We have automated attack scripts, we have predefined tools for that, which makes it easier to break into the systems. The vulnerabilities of the apps that are not yet noticed or that have been noticed and let go, that isse kya hi hoga, those just those vulnerabilities these hackers catch hold of and make use of it, not in your interest but in their own interest. We'll look at many more examples in the coming slides. Next is accidental actions of authorized users. An authorized user may forget to correctly configure S3 security, causing a potential data leak. Some of the biggest data breaches have been caused by poor configuration rather than hackers or disgruntled insiders. Moving on. Now let us look at some examples of cyber threat. As I said, cyber threat is only and only the probability of risk or the probability of a potential attack that might happen in the future if overlooked. And so here are the examples of cyber threats. Malware. Now malware is a software that does malicious tasks on a device or network, such as corrupting data or taking control of a system. It is like a mischievous child of the house that perform certain kinds of mischiefs on each and every person present in the family. That's all. Malware's task is to trouble you, to irritate you. For example, you might receive a folder. You open that folder and you receive a message, your system has been hacked. You again go and open another folder, the same message. That is the aim of a malware, to trouble you. Next is a spyware. Spyware is a form of malware that hides on a device, providing real-time information sharing to its host, enabling them to steal data like bank details and passwords. So the example of spyware we all know, and today's topic as well, is Pegasus. Spyware's main intention is to leak the data, to provide your information to a third-party accessor or the third-party attacker. The information is also sensitive, like your passwords, your bank details, your Gmail accounts, every sensitive information. Next, we move on to phishing attacks. Phishing is when a cyber criminal attempts to lure individuals into providing sensitive data, such as personally identifiable information, banking and credit card details, and password. You all must have, received a link that, or a mail, or somewhere in your while you're playing online games, while you're searching something online for an article, blog, whatever, you all must have received a link or a pop-up from somewhere saying, click on the following link, you have earned a certain amount of rupees. I warn you all, please do not click on such links. These are phishing attacks, or categorized under phishing attacks. The only purpose is to steal your data and to use it against you. You will nowhere receive 2 crore rupees for opening that link, or without your prior knowledge, without entering into any lottery, you have not won 2 crore rupees. So please do not ever click on such links. Next are the ransomware. Ransomware is a type of malware that denies access to a computer system or data until a ransom is paid. We'll look at ransomware attacks further in the presentation, so for now I'm leaving this part. Next comes the advanced persistent threats. An advanced persistent threat is when an unauthorized user gains access to a system or network and remains there without being detected for an extended period of time. Trojan. A Trojan creates a backdoor into your system, allowing the attacker to gain control of your computer or access confidential information. Wiper attacks. A wiper attack is a form of malware whose intention is to wipe the hard drive of the computer it infects. Intellectual property. Theft is stealing or using someone else's intellectual property without permission. Theft. Attacks may gain access to credit card numbers or bank accounts to steal money. Man-in-the-middle attack. A man-in-the-middle attack is when an attack relays and possibly alters the communication between two parties who believe they are communicating with each other. I would like to explain man-in-the-middle more. Man-in-the-middle attack can happen over data transfer as well. When you're transferring a data, there's a third party sitting in between your communication. You think you and the person you're communicating to are interacting with each other. But there is a third person sitting in between who is altering the data and sending it to the receiver. So this way, man-in-the-middle attack is performed. Drive-by downloads. A drive-by download attack is a download that happens without a person's knowledge, often installing a computer virus, spyware, or malware. I remember there was one time while I was downloading a music file from Chrome, and suddenly there was another download that was going on in the background, which I noticed. Luckily, if I wouldn't have noticed that, the story would have been different. But that is how these things work. The drive-by download attack happens without a person's knowledge or prior information. You're downloading something and something else gets downloaded. So you have to be vigilant even over internet. You have to be very careful. Moving on to malvertising. Malvertising is the use of online advertising to spread malware. We'll look at malvertising further in the coming slides, so we'll leave it here. Rogue software. Rogue software is malware that is disguised as a real software. Now, so in 2021, let me tell you all, since the pandemic hit our country, every small thing has been happening online, be it studies, be it office work, be it transactions, shopping, etc. Everything, every tiny bit of thing is happening over internet. And such an epochal shift from the offline to the online world has created so many loopholes. And these loopholes are used by unethical hackers to the best of their advantage. Not for you, not for me, but to the best of their advantage. They use these vulnerabilities, the common vulnerabilities and exposures, the errors, every vulnerability that went through without any reparation, or everything is being used by the unethical hackers to the best of their interest and to the best of their advantages. We have seen so much since the pandemic. Money siphoning, ransom, databases being deleted, data breaches happening all over the world. Every hour, one data breach be made. So much has been going on, and it continues till date. And trust me, not everyone is aware. There is not much awareness about this field. There is only a superficial knowledge, but we need to have in-depth knowledge to prevent the upcoming events, the upcoming attacks, the cyber attacks. So now let us look at biggest cyber threats in 2021. First is the COVID-19 themed phishing attacks, and these are happening everywhere in the world. Right now, there's one COVID-19 themed phishing attack happening. There might be one happening in the next 1 hour, and the cycle goes on. And this is happening just because we are not aware. We do not have in-depth knowledge about it. So what are COVID-19 themed phishing attacks? During a phishing attack, victims are presented with seemingly innocuous emails or websites that are infected with malicious links. Interacting with these links initiates a credential theft process. These attacks have the highest success rates when fear is used as a motivator for interaction. Since the coronavirus pandemic, COVID-themed phishing attacks have spiked, preying upon the virus-related anxieties of the public. Let me give you a very, very simple example for COVID-19 themed phishing attacks. Everywhere, if you open Instagram, Facebook, even on your WhatsApp, your messages, your emails, on Google, everywhere, you might have received donate this amount of money for COVID. Donate this much money for small businesses. All these come under phishing attacks. You don't know if they are fake or valid. We don't know. There are certain criteria that we have to look at that defines if they are fake or they are genuine. But when you look at these sites, when you look at these links, they all seem very genuine. And in the name of COVID-19, because of the fear spread in the public, the third-party attackers, accessors, they're taking advantage of that. They are earning money via the links they send. So in case you received, say, donate this much money for orphans, donate this much money for COVID-19 medicines, do not click on them and start filling your credit card details, your bank details, your CVV, your passwords. Do not do that. It is a trap. It is meant for siphoning the money. Next, we have ransomware attacks. Okay, so let us look at it this way. Ransomware would be, yeah. So suppose you have a friend, okay, and he went somewhere. Say he went to the market. His mother said, go and buy this things, and he went to the market. He went to the market, 1 hour passed, 2 hour passed, 3 hour passed, 4, 5, 6, but he did not come back home. The family grew worried. They contacted you. They asked all the friends if he has been there. They went to the market looking for him but couldn't find him. They came back home all sad and gloomy, worried about his whereabouts. They suddenly receive a call. When they pick that call, which is from an unknown number, there's a person who says that your child or your kid is under my custody, and if you want him back alive, give me this amount of money, or give me this certain amount of money. Unless and until then, forget about your child. We're not going to give him back. Okay? So, The family arranges the money, gives the money to the kidnapper, and gets the child back in return. But that too, in some cases, is uncertain if the individual being kidnapped will be returned by the kidnappers or not. So that is one another certainty. But we'll just put aside that. Similarly, just as the case I just told you all, similarly, ransomware is a malicious virus that seeps into your device computer system, finds the targeted files. Suppose you are say a photographer and you have photos in the phone drive. You have kept them safe in a phone drive. You thought that it is the safest place to keep it, and hence you kept it there. You saved it in the phone drive. And the photos that you have clicked, they are worth thousands and thousands of rupees, or maybe lakhs of rupees. But then when one fine day you get up and open your phone, those files don't open. They are encrypted and you receive a message that to open these files, you need to pay a certain amount of money. Only then you will be allowed access to your files. That is a ransomware attack. What this ransomware will do is that it will encrypt your drive and a message would be flashed as pay a certain amount before you could have the access back. And upon paying the amount, your files would be decrypted for you. And that is how a ransomware works. Now let us look what is written on the slide. Ransomware attacks are one of the most frightening cyber threats. During these attacks, a victim's sensitive data is encrypted and only decrypted if a ransom price is paid. Victims only become aware that they have been compromised when they are presented with a formidable message announcing the successful attack. So it works this way. Next, we move on to social engineering. Let us first look on what is written on the slide. Social engineering in the context of cyber threats is an effort to obtain login credentials through manipulation and trickery. Phishing campaigns are the usual attack vectors of social engineering, but these cyber threats can also be presented in person. For example, threat actors posing as IT professionals asking for your passwords. Do not share your passwords with anyone. Keep that in mind. Now, social engineering, we can look at it as an art of manipulating people. So they give up confidential information. For example, I take you into my trust, I manipulate you, I become the nicest person in the world, the most innocent person, gullible, who cannot harm you in any way. And I take out your credentials, your personal information, your sensitive information, which is your passwords of your account, your bank details, your credit card credentials, and so on. Do not trust anyone with your credentials. The types of information these criminals are seeking can vary, but when individuals are targeted, the criminals are usually trying to trick you into giving them your password or bank information, or access your computer to secretly install malicious software that will give them access to your passwords and bank information, as well as giving them control over your computer. So as I said, do not trust anyone to operate your computer, to operate your mobile phones. They might install a malicious software that might get your information, which otherwise you wouldn't have given, but they will provide the access of that. So do not. Criminals use social engineering tactics because it is usually easier to exploit your natural inclination to trust than it is to discover ways to hack your software. It's very obvious, you know. Taking someone into your trust is way more easier than sitting 12 hours, 24 hours coding, trying to break your passwords, making combinations, cracking the password and all. It's a very long process. So going the long way doing that is very hectic and very painful. So we people have a tendency to choose the easier alternative, which is taking someone into your trust. For example, um, as I said, I'll be the, you know, I'll be the nicest person and I'll ask you for your password. You'll give me your password, then I use it in my advantage. So that. Relating it to the real world, the best and simplest example would be the fraudulent calls you receive, where the caller tells himself as a bank manager. We all have received such calls. There's no denying in that. We all have received fraudulent calls saying, I'm your bank manager, or I'm speaking from this bank, you have an account here. They first ask for your confirmation if you have an account there or not. If you have an account, well and good. If you don't have an account, they take you into, to make an account there, an imaginary account there. And then they ask you for your bank details. Do not fall prey to such calls, please. There's still some of us who tends to fall prey to all these calls and mails and whatnot. Next, we move on to malvertising. Malvertising or malicious advertising is the process of embedding malicious codes into advertisement links. Malvertising can occur on websites that permit third-party advertising networks and even in social media feeds. An example of a malvertising attack in the Latin American banking Trojan known as MLS Piedu. In the Trojan was embedded in a Facebook ad campaign for McDonald's coupon. And, who would say no to McDonald's coupon? Nobody. When users interacted with the ad, a zip file containing the bank credentials stealing Trojan was downloaded and installed on their system. So click wisely, click before you, think before you click. Do not just click on any McDonald's coupon or KFC coupon. Please don't. Now, a couple of weeks ago, one fine day, we woke up and we found out that there is this one virus that has creeped into so many phones and are stealing data. And yes, that one virus was Pegasus. We don't know where it came from. We don't know what intentions it had back then. We did not know anything. There were various media consortium. There was a media consortium that set out to investigate what is the aim for Pegasus to be installed on so many devices, and hence Pegasus the looming danger. We still do not know a lot about Pegasus. We do not know how it functions. We still do not know what intentions does the third party accessor have, the attacker have. Why is it stealing data? Why is it keeping a check on you? We have no information. The investigators are still working on it. Each week we come up with new information. Each day we are made aware of new informations. And that is how Pegasus and the investigation has been going on. So, now what is Pegasus? Pegasus, it is the name for perhaps the most powerful piece of spyware ever developed. Certainly by a private company, and the private company which developed Pegasus is an Israeli cyberarms firm, InfosecGirls Group, that can be, and Pegasus is termed under spyware. Pegasus is a kind of spyware. And it comes, let me tell you, it comes under ESE, which is Enhanced Social Engineering. So, Pegasus is a spyware developed by the Israeli cyberarms firm InfosecGirls Group that can be covertly installed on mobile phones running most versions of iOS and Android. Once it has wormed its way onto your phone without you noticing, it can turn your device, your phone, into a 24-hour surveillance device. Just imagine someone keeping an eye on you 24 hours. And the person who is keeping an eye knows everything about you. Everything. How scary that is. It is really very scary. If someone is keeping an eye on me, it would be very scary. It can copy messages you send or receive, harvest your photos, and record your calls. It might secretly film you through your phone's camera or activate the microphone to record your conversations. It can potentially pinpoint where you are, where you've been, and who you've met. Goodness. That is really very scary, So the 2021 Project Pegasus revelations suggest that the current Pegasus software can exploit all recent iOS versions up to iOS 14.6. Just imagine. Previously, Pegasus was not able to at least penetrate into Apple system, but now it did that too. So now we can, just know how scary it is. Next is Pegasus is the hacking software or spyware that is developed, marketed, and licensed to governments around the world by the Israeli company InfosecGirls Group. It has the capability to infect billions of phones running either on iOS or Android operating system. The spyware is named after the mythical winged horse Pegasus. It is a Trojan horse that can be sent flying through air to infect phones. The Israeli Ministry of Defense licenses the export of Pegasus to foreign governments, but not to private entities. So it is not meant for you or for me. We cannot afford to even buy it. Next is discovery of Pegasus. The earliest version of Pegasus, it was discovered in 2016, and it infected phones through what is called spear phishing, text messages or emails that trick a target into clicking on a malicious link. As I said, do not click on any link which you find suspicious, or do not click on any link altogether unless and until you're sure it is coming from a genuine source. Just do not click on it. Do not. Stay away. Pegasus was discovered in August 2016 after a failed installation attempt on the iPhone of a human rights activist led to an investigation revealing details about the spyware, its abilities, and the security vulnerabilities it exploited. News of the spyware caused significant media coverage. It was called the most sophisticated smartphone attack ever and marked the first time that a malicious remote exploit using jailbreak to gain unrestricted access to an iPhone had been detected. In July 2021, widespread media coverage, part of the Project Pegasus, Revelations, along with an in-depth analysis of human rights group Amnesty International, uncovered that Pegasus was still being widely used against high-profile targets. It showed that Pegasus was able to infect all modern iOS app versions up to the latest iOS release through a zero-click iMessage exploit. Now let us look at a brief history of Pegasus. 2016, researchers at Canadian cybersecurity organization, the Citizen Lab, first encountered Pegasus on a smartphone of human rights activist Ahmed Mansoor. September 2018, the Citizen Lab published a report that identified 45 countries in which Pegasus was being used. As with the latest revelation, the list included India, too. October 2019, WhatsApp revealed that journalists and human rights activists in India had been targets of surveillance by operators using Pegasus. July 2021, the Pegasus Project, an international investigative journalism effort, revealed that various governments use the software to spy on government officials, opposition politicians, journalists, activists, and many others. It is said the Indian government used it to spy on around 300 people between 2017 and 2019, which is still uncertain. We do not know that. It is not a concrete proof. Now, we have been taking name of InfosecGroup, InfosecGroup, InfosecGroup. What is actually InfosecGroup? InfosecGroup Technologies, in which InfosecGroup stands for the founding members of InfosecGroup. That is Niv, Omri, Lavi, Shalif, Julio, Niv, Karmi, the names of the company's founders, is an Israeli technology firm whose spyware called Pegasus enables the remote surveillance of smartphones. It employed almost 500 people as of 2017 and is based in Herzliya near Tel Aviv, Israel. Now let me tell you one more thing. The founding members of InfosecGroup are no ordinary people. They belong to a very, like we have CIA, we have RAW, we have all these things. They also belong to one such unit of Israel, that is Israeli Intelligence Corps, and the unit was 8200, and that is a very highly classified unit of Israel. So they belong to an intelligence unit. That was an insight into the founding members. Moving on. InfosecGroup was previously owned by American private equity firm Francisco Partners, but it was brought back by its founders in 2019. The company states that it provides authorized governments with technology that helps them combat terror and crime. So the main aim of InfosecGroup to provide Pegasus is to fight terror, crime, trafficking, and all other sorts of crime being prevalent in today's era. Its aim is not to, harm the individuals, but its aim is to be used in the best of your advantage to prevent the terrorism, the crime, the hatred, and all the other vicious activities happening all around. Its aim is to stop that, to make a world a better place. InfosecGroup has published sections of contracts which require customers to use its product only for criminal and national security investigations and has stated that it has an industry-leading approach to human rights. In July 2021, a joint investigation conducted by 17 media organizations revealed that Pegasus spyware was used to target and spy on heads of state, activists, journalists, and dissidents, enabling human rights violations around the world on a massive scale. The investigation, dubbed the Pegasus Project, was launched after a leak of 50,000 phone numbers of potential surveillance targets. Amnesty International carried out forensic analysis of mobile phones of potential targets. Amnesty International is a forensic lab. That is, did you know question mark? So Amnesty International is a forensic lab. The investigation also revealed that journalists from multiple media organizations, including Al Jazeera, CNN, the Financial Times, the Associated Press, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg News, and Le Monde were targeted, and identified at least 180 journalists from 20 countries who were selected for targeting with NSO spyware between 2016 and June 2021. Now, NSO also, let me tell you, NSO has invested substantial effort in making its software difficult to detect. And Pegasus infections are now very hard to identify because they do not, give you hints that they are there. Security researchers suspect more recent versions of Pegasus only ever inhabit the phone's temporary memory rather than its hard drive, meaning that once the phone is powered down, virtually all trace of the software vanishes. Now, the question here arises is, we have so many spywares. We have so many spywares. Each spyware have a common trait to spy on you. That's why they're spywares. They are the malicious softwares that have the main aim to spy on you, to retrieve your personal data, to retrieve your sensitive information and use it against you, against your interest. But the question here is, how is Pegasus different from other spywares which are persistent? So, Pegasus, aka Q Suite, it is owned by Q Technologies and hence Q Suite, marketed by the NSO Group, aka Q Cyber Technologies, as a world-leading cyber intelligence solution that enables law enforcement and intelligence agencies to remotely and covertly extract data from virtually any mobile devices, was developed by veterans of Israeli intelligence agencies. As I told you, the founding members of NSO Group. They are the veterans of Israeli intelligence agencies. So a previous version of spyware was found in 2016. As I told you in the previous slide, it was first detected in 2016 by a Canadian researcher. It infected smartphones back then using the spear phishing technique. That is, a luring text message or email containing a malicious link were sent to the target. To the target on whose smartphone the spyware had to be downloaded, it was sent to them. It depended on the target clicking the link, a requirement that was done away with in subsequent versions. Back then we had a requirement that if you see a luring text message or a luring email that have very flowery language and it lured you into clicking that malicious link, you had to click on it. You had to open that link for Pegasus to be downloaded on the device. But this requirement of clicking on it, on opening the link, that was done away with in its subsequent versions, slowly and gradually. We'll get to know that very soon. How? In 2019, WhatsApp revealed that NSO's software had been used to send malware to more than 1,400 phones by exploiting a zero-day vulnerability. In this case, in 2019, when WhatsApp found out the vulnerability being used against them, in 2019, what happened was the high-profile officials, the journalists, or the targeted individuals, they received a video call which answered or not answered doesn't matter. The vulnerability in WhatsApp's code was being used in their favor, against us and in their favor. The Pegasus virus, once the call had been made, it penetrated into the system, it got installed on your phones, and it attacked the kernel. So that vulnerability of the WhatsApp code was being used in their favor. Since then, however, InfosecGirls' attack capabilities have become more advanced. Pegasus infections can be achieved through so-called zero-click attacks, which do not require any interaction from the phone's owner in order to succeed. That's what I'm saying. In previous versions, in the previous versions of the virus, there was a requirement to go and click on the luring message, to read it, to select the link, to open the link, and only then the virus would get installed on your computer or on your device and turn it into a 24-hour surveillance device, keeping an eye on what are you doing, where are you, where have you been, with whom have you been. But now that requirement has been done away with. Now it is a zero-click attack. You don't have to touch your phone, you don't have to select a link, you don't have to open it. These will often exploit zero-day vulnerabilities, which are flaws or bugs in an operating system that the mobile phone's manufacturer does not know yet. And as I have been saying since the beginning of this presentation, that there are certain vulnerabilities that the manufacturers itself doesn't know. They made a code, but they don't know that their code has a problem, that their code has a loophole through which a unethical hacker can enter into it and use it in the best of their advantage. They do not know that. They are unaware of the fact that there is a bug, there is a vulnerability in their code, in their application, in their web services. And the same vulnerability is being used by the Pegasus or by any other spyware, by any other cyber threat. The hackers, the terrorists, all these are being used in the best of their advantage. And they're taking pretty much, a lot of advantage out of it. Now, more recently, what we have seen is NSO has begun exploiting vulnerabilities in Apple's software, in Apple's iMessage software. Now, imagine, we all thought that Apple phones are the most secure devices, but suddenly now they are not. So the iMessages software have some kind of vulnerabilities which Apple is unaware of, and they have issued a bounty also to search for the vulnerability which has been there. So it gives a backdoor access to hundreds of millions of iPhones. That iMessage, that one iMessage app, it gives backdoor access to hundreds of millions of iPhones. Just imagine, we thought that Apple softwares are the securest, but that's not the case here. Moving on to what kind of devices are vulnerable in simple language. Every single device is vulnerable to a Pegasus attack, to a Pegasus infection. Every device is vulnerable. All devices, practically iPhones, have been widely targeted with Pegasus through Apple's default iMessage app and the push notification service protocol upon which it is based. So if you think that there is some device which is secure, that my device or your device, your Apple iPhone or my Android phone will not be infected, it is not the case. Even if you do not have a smartphone, you have that, old Nokia phone in which you had that snake wala game, even that is prone to a Pegasus infection. Even that phone is, so there is no such device that is not vulnerable to a Pegasus infection. Pegasus can also be installed over a wireless transceiver located near a target, or it can be installed manually on your phone. Say, for example, you hand your phone to someone. You trust him, that he is a nice person, you give your phone away. That okay, keep it. But if he takes your phone, that I have to do some work on your phone, and you just, you trust that guy. You have that trust on him. So you hand him. And the guy, he installs the Pegasus infection on your phone. So it can be done manually as well. There is no requirement as such it will come flying in your phone. No. Or it will come via some vulnerability, or it will be installed via a third party. No. Even it can be done manually. So that was all about what kind of devices are vulnerable to Pegasus infection. In simple words, every device is vulnerable to a Pegasus infection. Every device. Not one device spared, but every device is vulnerable to one Pegasus infection. Moving on. Does the spyware always get into any device it targets? It is a tricky question. So, to answer it, let us first look at the slide, what is written on it. Usually, an attacker needs to feed the Pegasus system just the target phone number for a network injection. You give the attacker the phone number of the person whose device needs to be infected with Pegasus, and that is enough. That is all that he needs. Just a phone number and of the target phone. And the Pegasus infection will be injected in it. Once the phone number is provided for a network injection, the rest is done automatically by the system. In some cases, though, network injections may not work. Okay. For example, remote installation fails when the target device is not supported by the InfosecGirls system, or its operating system is upgraded with new security protections. So keep that in mind. If next time you receive a notification saying that the system needs updation, please do update it. Do not delay it. Please install new security protections on your devices, security patches. Just go for a system update whenever it comes on your phone. Installation will be aborted by the browser of the target device. It will display a predetermined innocuous web page so that the target does not have an inkling of the failed attempt. You will not get to know about the behind the scenes, what is happening. Is it installing? Is it not installing? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. You'll receive a message, you'll receive, you'll receive a call, you'll receive a video call, you'll not even pick it up. But, tada, the infection is there. The infection is right there in your device. It has turned your device into a surveillance device. It is keeping an eye on you. That is how dangerous this Pegasus is. What information can be compromised? Every. Same answer. All information. Every information your phone contains has been exposed to a third-party attacker. You don't know it. I don't know it. But you and my conversations are being tapped by a third party. We think we are in a secure place, we're in a safe place, but no. There's someone listening to our conversation on my or on your mobile phone via the microphone, and you are unaware of that. You are unaware of the fact that someone is looking at you via your phone camera. You don't know it. I don't know it. Someone is looking at me via my camera because I don't even know that my phone has an infection called Pegasus. I am not aware of the fact, neither are you. So when an iPhone is compromised, it's done in such a way that it allows the attacker to obtain so-called root privilege or administrative privileges on the device. When it comes to information security, the data on the device is compromised to the third party, and the access is also passed on to the third party accessor attacker, which, as said before, is very, very harmful and very dangerous. Pegasus can harvest more or less any information or extract any file. SMS messages, address books, call history, calendars, emails, and internet browsing histories can all be exfiltrated. As I said, anything and everything that is on your phone can be accessed by a third-party accessor. You are being watched. Every action of yours is being watched. Upon installation, Pegasus contacts the attacker's command and control, C&C, which we call, servers to receive and execute instructions and send back the target's private data, including, as I said, passwords, your contact list, the phone numbers you have, the calendar events. If you're a high-profile official, you might be having some very important meetings and confidential meetings. That would be on your calendar so that you won't forget about it. And voila. Text messages and live voice calls, even those via end-to-end encrypted messaging apps. Even if your and mine conversations are encrypted end-to-end, they are being tapped by the third-party accessor. So even if we are, we think, okay, the app is being encrypted, it is end-to-end encrypted, it is very secure. The company claims that it will not go anywhere. Your information is safe with us. It is being tapped. It is being tapped by a third-party accessor all the time. Moving on to the precautions that can be taken. Now, there is not any precaution that I can think of that would be apt, because it is, as I said, Pegasus is an enhanced socially engineered malware. So there is, and we do not know, we do not have much knowledge about it. We do not know. much about it. Every week there is some new information coming. Every week the list is being upgraded. Every week, slowly and gradually, we are getting aware about Pegasus. And the worst part of it is that a lot of data is being exposed. It is being exposed. The data has been exposed. Your data has been exposed. The high profile journalist, activist, human rights activist, government officials, everybody's data has been exposed. That has been compromised, which shouldn't have been the case. As the claim suggests, Pegasus has the objective to make the world a better place, to do away with the cyber crimes, to do away with the terrorism, to do away with the other vicious activities, trafficking, smuggling, the illegal transfer of goods, you know. And that is not the case here. The case here is that journalists, higher officials, all of their data, all of their phones are being tapped, which is certainly violating the human rights. You're hindering someone's privacy. So basically, Pegasus is doing more bad than it does any good. In simple words, in one line, if I, summarize it, that it does more, vicious activities, more sinister activities it is performing right now than it is doing any good to anyone. Its objective was something else, and its objective has become something else. It's taping data of people, and you're not, and you should not, and you're not allowed to enter into someone's private life. You're not, nobody, no organization, no matter for what cause they are working, they are not allowed to hinder someone's privacy. So that, makes Pegasus a very dangerous spyware. Let us look at the precautions that could be taken. Now, apparently, one way to dodge Pegasus is to change one's default phone browser. According to a Pegasus brochure, installation from browsers other than the device default and also Chrome for Android-based devices is not supported by the system. So one way to do away with Pegasus, to dodge it, is to change one's default phone browser. And that's it. Like, for example, when you receive a link, say for example, you receive a link on your Gmail or you receive a link on your WhatsApp, it goes straight to your default phone browser. Whatever browser it might have, I don't know. But it goes straight to your phone browser, which personally I don't trust. I don't trust it. I don't know if it's a secure and safe place, and I don't trust it. So if you change it, if you change your phone browser, you might as well dodge Pegasus. And theoretically, astute cyber hygiene can safeguard against enhanced social engineered malware, that is ESEM, Bates. When Pegasus exploits a vulnerability in one's phone's operating system, there is nothing we can do to stop a network injection. Worse, one will not even be aware of it unless a device is scanned at a digital security lab. As said before, you and me, we don't know if our phone has Pegasus infection. Nobody knows that. Nobody. And it's very, very hard to identify if your device has been affected or has not been affected by a Pegasus infection. Because previously there were luring messages, luring emails, which lured you into trust, which lured you into opening it. You opened it and bam, a damage has happened. But now you will not even know if there has been an attack or not, unless and until it is scanned in a digital security lab, in a digital forensic lab. When you send in your phone there, they'll scan it to the kernel, and then only you'll know if your phone has been affected or not. Now, switching to an archaic handset that allows only basic calls and messages will certainly limit data exposure. But as I said, no device has been spared. No device is such that it is not vulnerable to Pegasus infection. Each and every device, even that simple Nokia phone in which there is no internet, only you can call someone and receive a call, even that phone is prone to a Pegasus infection. That, if you switch to an archaic handset, if you switch to that Nokia phone, then the possibility is that there is, limited exposure of data. There is not much because you don't have photos in there. You cannot store major files there. You cannot store files in Google Drive. You do not have anything in there. Just can call someone and receive 1-2 text messages. That's all. So in this way, the exposure of data is limited. It is cut down, but it may not cut down the infection risk. The device is still prone to an attack. The device is still prone to any spyware attack, any malware attack, any attack, any cyber threat. It is prone to it. Only the probability gets less that the attack will happen. The probability, it gets cut down, but it is never zero. Any alternate devices used for emails and apps will remain vulnerable unless one forgoes those essential services altogether. Any alternate device, if it contains the apps, if it contains the emails, your system, your device is still prone to Pegasus altogether, and there's nothing you can do about it unless and until you just do away with it. You completely do away with it. You completely, let go of the device, to let go of email and other apps. You're good to go. The probability of data exposure is cut down on. But the smartphones that we use, even now the Apple iPhones, they all are prone to a Pegasus infection. The best one can do is to stay up to date with every operating system update and security patch released by any device manufacturer and hope that zero-day attacks become rarer. So here, as I said, please install the latest security patches. Please update your operating systems on time. If you receive updates, do not ignore them. Do not delay it. Install it as and when you get it. Because that will save your phone from getting infected by a spyware. It will prevent your phone's vulnerability to be getting used against your interest, against something you don't want to do, against something, some information that you don't want to give out. Therefore, you have this very alternative to keep updating your operating system and security patches released by device manufacturers and hope that zero-day attacks become rarer. As and when the vulnerabilities will be, will come into limelight, as and when they'll get to know about the vulnerabilities that exist in their applications, in their web services, in the codes, they'll keep updating them. They'll keep sending you updates, and then it will become your job to update it. And that's how you'll be saved. The other alternative, which is not possible for everyone, is that to keep changing your handsets periodically, and it is the most effective, you know, alternative, but it is an expensive remedy. This one remedy is to keep changing your handsets periodically, as in when you like 6 months or every year. This way, your phone will be less prone to attacks. So, from this session, we got to know about cyber threats. What are cyber threats? And from an epochal shift, such a swift shift, one day it was offline and the next day everything went online. It created loopholes, a lot of them, a lot of loopholes for unethical hackers, for conmen to seep into them, to creep into them, to hack into your systems, to get your data, to delete databases. So many hospitals and so many hotels have gotten their data deleted. The data breaches, which we call it, the data attacks have happened. The ransomware attacks, people asking for money for your own data. They encrypt your data, ask your money. The siphoning of money, creeping into your bank account just because you gave out your bank account details into some phishing site, into some unknown link, into a luring message you gave in, and you provided them with your bank details, credit card details, and they had an opportunity to creep in, to take away what's yours. And all this is just because there is not enough awareness about this particular stream. Now when we are into it, now when we are in this pandemic situation, when everything is happening online and there is no offline interaction, everything is in virtual space, everything is in cyberspace, you're just interacting with a screen. Remember that there's nothing more than a screen. You're just interacting with your screen. You are not interacting with the person but with your screen. Do not trust your screen. Do not trust whatever you see. Do not click on any link you see. Do not install anything. If you do install, please keep a check on what is installing. Just check that there's nothing installing at the back end. All these things need to be, kept in mind, and awareness needs to be spread to stop all these things. Even more research has to be done in the case of Pegasus so that we know, we get more info. We know what to do and what not to do. Because zero-day vulnerability, zero-day attacks slowly and gradually will become more common. Today, only Pegasus infection are, using this. Tomorrow, some other spyware will use it in its own advantage. We have to stop giving into these vulnerabilities, into these loopholes, and we have to become aware. And hence it is my request to you, to all of you, do not click on any suspicious link. Do not click unless and until you are sure that it is coming from a genuine site. Unless and until you see that lock over on your computer screens, do not click on any site. Do not carry out any transactions. We all have to create such awarenesses, because before, when everything was in offline mode, people were least bothered because things were happening in person, manually. We were not interacting with the screen. We were not in a virtual space. We were in an offline world. We were interacting with people. We knew who is a con man or who is a genuine person. But now we are just interacting with our screens, and we do not know who is on the other side. There might be a person camouflaging as a girl, but that is a 35-year-old man. And you trust that person, that he's a nice person, but you're just interacting with the screen. You do not know him. And hence, do not give out your personal informations, your Google account passwords, your social media passwords, your credit card credentials, your bank details, your sensitive data to anyone. Keep it safe with you. It's not something that you should share with everyone, and that is being said and told so many times. Do not share. Even your phone numbers, do not give it at any place where you think is not genuine. Only give your phone numbers when necessary. Do not give out your phone numbers to everyone. Create a safe place for you all. And this is what cybersecurity awareness is. Hope you all like this session on cyber threat, Pegasus the looming danger. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Shavyanshi. That was really a very knowledgeable session. And I would also like to thank Cloudl for collaborating with us. And so see you all in the next session. And thank you for joining.